man. I appreciate you coming through, man.
Thanks for having me, man.
Yeah. I can see you still like you're still buzzing a little bit from from your tour back from L.A.B.
Yeah. It's been like easily the biggest, most incredible experience of my life. Yeah, it's one of those things that you sit down like when you first start learning an instrument, and like you picture yourself up on a big stage like that, and yeah, it happened. So I was like, shit. Yeah.
Well, I saw your Instagram this morning with the drone footage. Do you know how many people were there?
17,000, I believe.
17,000. Yeah. Fuck, man. Because like that looked crazy. That looked insane. It looked like it was just like on stage it'd be pure euphoria for you.
Yeah, it was nuts. But like the thing is, you don't really realize how many people there are just because it's like pitch black, and like you can kind of see the first like few rows of people and out to the sides in that, but I didn't quite get a scope of how far back they went, because like I think the VIP section was on the other side of the paddock, and from the stage to the VIP section it was just packed. And so like those drone shots really kind of give you a really good idea of
do you like because I can imagine, I guess, if you're kind of, if you're like the singer, if you're like right in the middle of it, you can actually stop and just look, maybe interact. But, being, the percussionist, like you're very involved. You're a busy man on stage. You don't really get to fuck around very much from, well, just an assumption I'm making here. Yeah. But like, did you find yourself being able to do very much of that during the show? Like, were you able to kind of just stop and take it in for a second? Or
I think there are a few songs that I don't play, or there's some intros that I don't play, and for some of them I'd like hop off stage, have a hype the bros up, because they're all like taking it in too, and yeah, so there's bits in between songs where I'm not super involved, so yeah, I do get to take it all in and like turn around. Like me and Brad, the drummer, like we look at each other a lot because he's the dude I have to lock in with. So there's a lot of like play and a lot of love on stage.
Yeah, kind of like a bit of teamwork. Yeah.
So I don't really get to interact with the crowd, but I get to interact with the boys on stage. And that's,
Well, I mean, I suppose, so obviously, you feel the stage, but, being able to see what's out there. So like to you, because I mean, like I kind of I suppose to me I feel like it would be something similar to like a boxing ring, because when you're in the ring, like everything goes black. There's you, there's your corner, there's the guy, there's the ref, but that's all. It doesn't matter whether it's 100 people or 1,000 people in there. It's like it's all the same to you.
Well, I think it's a bit different, like because you got like 100 people aren't going to make the same amount of noise as 17,000 people. True. Right, and like you walk out to that, and then it's just like it hits you. Yeah. And there are a couple of like tear in the eye moments. And that you just get a little bit overwhelmed. But for me, because it's my first tour with the boys, like I kind of focused a lot on nailing my parts, and then I think like around the second and third show when I got a little bit more comfy.
How many did you do all up?
4 gigs. So it was Rhythm and Alps, then Bowler Brooklands, and then Hagley Park, and then Western Springs. Yeah. So 4 shows. By the time we got to Christchurch, I felt myself like opening up a bit more and experimenting a bit more on stage, because like my parts aren't kind of set in stone. I'm kind of the little bit of spice, like the drummer's got like the meat and potatoes, and I kind of add a little bit of the flavor, so I can mess around with the bits I'm playing. I can kind of experiment. Okay, so it's not just kind of like, this is set, this is what you do. You're able to every now and again be a bit creative with what you do. Yeah, I got a little bit of that, and then I think in Christchurch I tried some things out and had a pair of sticks thrown at me at the end of the song, and I was like, oh shit, because like Brad's a big dude, and I had these 2 like log-sized drumsticks thrown at me, and I was like, oh shit, I fucked up, I don't know if I'm allowed to swear, but like
no, you're good.
And then I was like shitting my pants the rest of the gig because I thought I'd made a mistake or overplayed or something, And then end of the gig, the dude, one of the techs was like, "Nah, it's a good thing." Like,
oh yeah, so
you
it's
know,
just
like,
like
it was just
my man.
Yeah, he was
some
stoked.
drumsticks. Yeah.
Chuck some drumsticks across the stage at me. But yeah, it's been cool. It's been cool. Like they've given me a lot of creative freedom because a lot of their songs don't really have percussion in it, and it's been like kind of trial by fire where we had literally 2 rehearsals.
So, true. Okay, so okay.
Yeah. Or like,
that's what I was gonna ask too. I was just like, I always wondered how these things go. Like, you know, do you kind of have to have like a pretty big build up to it? Is it like, you know, going back to like, you know, fight nights again? But
yeah,
you know, like, is this like a big kind of training camp before, you know, before the big day, or is it just kind of like
I think
it's going down?
I think COVID kind of put a damper on the whole thing because I was supposed to go and do like a full weekend's worth of rehearsals with them early December, but we didn't get out of lockdown until like the 14th or 13th or something.
Yeah.
So I didn't get a chance to go and rehearse with them, which kind of put a little bit more pressure on me to have my shit together.
Yeah.
So like,
were they spending their time together?
They were together. Yeah, they were down in
and you kind of had to
Whakatane.
just jump in for like the last couple of sessions, and it's going
Yeah,
down,
it was literally like, I think we did one production rehearsal before the AMAs, which was the first time I met them, jammed with them or anything. That was like a day before the Aotearoa Music Awards.
Yeah.
So it was like, and that was more not to go over my parts, it was to go over like tech stuff to make sure my rig was sweet, their rig was sweet, everything was mic'd up, everyone was happy with their monitor mix. So it wasn't about what I was playing so much.
It's more like a sound check.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, like a really, really intensive sound check. So that was like the first time I jammed with them, and they just kind of let me do what I wanted. Like there were bits where Brad would be like, "Hey, maybe play this instead," and other than that, yeah. Then we did the music awards, and then it was the first show like a week after that. So I drove down to Whakatane for like one rehearsal. So I was there for like 4 hours, smashed the set out, and that was it. Gig time.
Shit, man. Yeah, jump right in.
Yeah. So I think like lucky we had the lockdown, because that just meant I could just learn all their repertoire, just learn as much of this, as many of their songs as I could.
So you spent the whole lockdown just listening to L.A.B.
Pretty much, man. Yeah. I'll probably like they're obviously number one on my Apple Music list now with just the amount of just spamming them in. And then trying to figure out parts, because that's the thing. Like, there's not a lot of percussion in their songs, so it's just trying to figure out and try to be musical and fit in and not overplay. Like that was a big learning curve.
Yeah, well. It sounds like it because essentially if you're listening to a song, you're trying to figure out what you could do to adjust it without overdoing it, especially because you're doing it with them. This isn't like a TikTok where you can kind of just go ham and oh, look what I did with their song. Like you have to fit in with the boys.
Fitting in with them, complimenting them, and firstly like trying to figure out, listening like real closely to what's going on. Because sometimes, like, they'll have, like, a shaker in it, and then it's like, but do I need to play a shaker if Brad's playing hi-hats? Maybe, like, some congas would work better. So just having, like, different options of things to play, or maybe shaker in the verse and congas in the chorus to, like, build it up. I don't know, like, that's the kind of, like, mindset I had, and it's kind of worked out so far.
I mean, it sounds like it would have been really fulfilling from a creative point of view, because you had that freedom to play with these things, to say, hey, look, well, how about this instead of that?
Yeah. That was just a internal monologue, because like I just played what I felt natural, and the boys didn't stop me or be like, hey, and if they did, then it was always like, taken really well, because it's their song. I kind of want to do it justice and have them hear it how they want to hear it. So it's super important to. I've been lucky to have both. Like, have Brad as a mentor and be like, hey man, maybe this, maybe that, and then Joel as well, the singer, kind of telling me after watching some of the videos that I need to like lock in with Brad a bit better. So it's things like that, and they're like really good at giving you feedback and not making you feel like shit.
Yeah. No, I suppose, yeah, I mean, that's a big part of it as well, because you don't want to feel like, oh man, am I in the right place? Am I supposed to be here?
Yeah.
Because
So,
I mean, I can imagine with, especially with only 2 rehearsals, like the pressure factor would have been quite high.
yeah, well, I felt it, but they were also very good at making me feel relaxed, and they were super supportive, and they're like, yeah, man, you're killing it. So I went in more confident than I have for a lot of other gigs. And then also like the fact that I guess did my homework, because like I'd have been an idiot not to.
Yeah.
And then learned more songs than were on the set list just in case, things change. People like, and they're a band that changes their mind like on the fly, like a lot. So yeah, just doing your homework. That's what that was my thing. Listen to their songs, try and learn as many of them as I could.
Nice.
And then,
Was there like, I don't know, like from a point of view of being on tour, like, because I mean that's an experience in itself. It's not just kind of playing a gig, like you're going on tour.
Yeah.
Like, were there any kind of buzzy, interesting stories or anything like that? Because I mean, I feel like there usually is any kind of events, any incidents.
Oh, not really. I think like like for me, and I think a lot of them too, it's very much like we all had our own hotel rooms, we all had our own kind of things. I think like some of the tech guys used to like fuck with me at soundcheck, and that like they'd playing congas, and I had like this cowbell foot thingy, and then halfway through a song I'm like, oh,
gotta have the
working.
cowbell.
And then I look down and the dude's got like a drumstick there, so I can't play the thing, and like that's kind of it. But like while we're on the road, it's like everyone goes to sound check, and then you're back to the hotel and you just do your own thing till and then after the gig, people hang around for a few drinks, but for the most part it was pretty chill. I think everyone was kind of holding out for One Love, which was supposed to be today.
Oh man, yeah. No,
to like have like a proper party and a proper like blowout.
Was that meant to be the last one?
That was going to be the last one of the run, yeah. So I think, well, we got super lucky in that all of the L.A.B shows were done, and so it was just like a big festival to finish off.
Yeah. That
wasn't organized by them. They were just I think headlining or like one of the bands on the roster. So it was I think everyone was kind of holding out for that, and that's why like Auckland was like that's why it feels a bit weird now without the closure, because everyone was like, oh sweet, see you next week, and we all like left early, like like a lot of guys didn't even come out to party. Like I showed up drinking like water because I'd run out of Coke, and we were all left by like 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah, well, because you kind of expected like, okay, next week it's going down. Next week, right now we're just taking it easy. We still got one more, like the grand finale to go.
It. Yeah, and it's like a long weekend, so everyone can go hard, and now it's just like, oh
shit.
Crap. If I had known, maybe I would have sunk a Corona or something.
Yeah, no, well, fair enough. I mean, I feel like a lot of people would have done the same thing, and nobody really saw it coming that quickly. No. In terms of that, I've seen a lot of talk on Instagram and whatnot. Like a lot of people, like essentially complaining about what it's doing to the live event industry. Like music specifically.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I mean, if you don't get any kind of support in that sense,
we
do
don't.
you? Yeah.
Well, I'm lucky in that I have a day job that pays me well enough that I can make ends meet. The music thing pads that out nicely. But I know a lot of people that don't, and I don't feel like you should have to rely on a day job. I think if you're able to succeed without it, great. But I mean, support, especially the thing that really irks me is how the government or whoever had this like 2 Shots for Summer campaign.
Yeah.
And it was like using music and
well,
concerts.
The festivals were the bait.
Yeah,
like you
exactly.
want to go anywhere, you want to enjoy this stuff, go get your
Exactly.
shots, and look, a lot of people got that.
Yeah.
You know, like there were very few people that got it because I'm concerned, and like most people just like, okay, whatever. I just want to get out. I want to do shit.
Yeah, musicians included, right? Because
Yeah.
we were like, man, if we don't get vaccinated, we can't play. Like, not me. I was pro it, but I know a bunch of people that aren't and had to go get it done because, so they could go work, essentially. So it's a bit crap not having support, and I don't know how long a lot of these people can survive, man, because most musicians will make most of their year's income from sort of like end of November to end of April.
Sure, okay.
And we already came out of that lockdown. Like we only just came out of lockdown
So
in
that
December.
that already kind of took out a big chunk
Especially,
of like
for
the,
Auckland anyways. And all these festivals getting canned. And it's not just like performers that suffer, man. Like it's the
everyone
event
involved, really.
and-
Every the organizers, the
Stage
stage
crew,
guys,
yeah.
like literally anybody that's involved,
Yeah.
So I mean, it really messes with that aspect of the economy because like it's easy to say that we're supporting businesses. We'll support your local cafe, we'll support whatever the nature of the business is. But with this, because it's not kind of a consistent thing that happens every day, how do you address that? And I feel like in that sense, they kind of just wrote it off and said, you know what, we'll leave it.
tough.
Yeah.
It's crap. I know there's like a few petitions and that going around. Whether or not it gets anywhere, I don't know. If it does, then great, because like a lot of my mates are kind of struggling.
Yeah.
And it's tough. Like I said, I'm sweet because I know where my next paycheck's coming from, and I'm lucky enough that I'm maybe it's not super established, but I have a little bit of work trickling in gig wise. But yeah, a lot of people playing like the bigger gigs that maybe they've done their time doing the pub circuit and like.
Yeah, well, I mean, they're all in with what they got. So if you cut them off, if you don't give them the opportunity to earn, they're not going to earn. Where you're going to go, what you're going to do.
Yeah. And that's the other thing where I think it's like super important for people like fans who can to do things like buy merch and like support them, not on Spotify, but like Bandcamp and stuff where their dollar goes a little bit further.
What's Bandcamp?
So Bandcamp, I don't know how many people are on it, but it's basically another music platform where the artist takes a way bigger cut. Because I think on Spotify, I could have this completely wrong, but I think it's per stream, the artist gets like 0.0003 cents per stream.
I heard something like that. It's just it's pretty ridiculous. So
I might have put one too many zeros.
You look at something that's been streamed like a million times, and you're like, oh, okay, that's a popular song. But then in reality, how much money did that make?
Not a lot.
Yeah.
And that's why. So artists rely on touring for their bread. Like albums, just give them something to perform, and like recording is not cheap. Studio time is not cheap.
I mean, it really has never been cheap.
Nah.
But I think the whole dynamic of the music industry has changed from people selling records, CDs, whatever. You're buying a physical copy of something with a cost attached to it. Whereas now you're not really selling music anymore.
No, you're selling a product.
Like the music is really the kind of almost like the marketing material for what you can deliver as a live show, for the image through your merch that you're selling, and etc. Like, it's actually changed a lot, and I think and at a time like this, especially, I feel like at a time like this, it would have been good if it was still records, because you'd be sitting at home listening to records, and you'd be buying records.
You'd be buying records.
Like at least in that sense,
I think you'll the artist gets a bit more, I think, from physical CD purchases and record purchases than they would streaming, because I think like back then. Now you can just, it's so catered to consumers that you can just go, I don't want to buy a whole album. I want to stream one song.
It kind of makes you think. I've always wondered, like, you know, because this whole dynamic changed, how long before we stop getting albums? Because you don't really need to do that anymore. You can just chuck out a song and here you go.
Yeah.
In another couple of weeks, I'll release another one, and it just kind of keeps that rotation. You don't need a whole, whatever, you know, 12, 15 songs at once.
Well, I think it depends on the artist, perhaps. Because I think now, the way social media is kind of, it's all about content. If you're doing an album, it takes ages. You got to mix it, master it, well, record it first, write it, record it, mix it, master it, do all the artwork, get everything printed, whatever, and then published. If you're doing a single, you don't have to worry. You can knock out a single in, you know, a 12th of the time, maybe.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I suppose it's kind of like, an album versus
a single.
Just a song.
And then that way you've also got content that you get to promote. You get to promote single after single after single.
Well,
instead of just doing, here's a whole album.
That's kind of what I'm thinking too. It's just like it sort of makes sense.
It has changed a little bit.
It makes you look a bit more consistent and busy. Because, you know, like you used to have, well, you still do. You know, like somebody drops an album and it just got quiet for ages because, you know, you've got your serving of goods.
Yeah.
Now I'm going to take some time to tour. I'm going to take some time to chill. Then I'm going to take some time to make another album, and before you know it, you know, 2-3 years have passed. So, but you know, and people are fickle like that. You know, time moves fast these days. So in 3 years' time, they're like, oh, this guy again. You know, like, so it's easy to lose a bit of that hype.
Well, and technology has come so far too, right? Because you've got all these like bedroom producers now, so you don't even need to essentially go into a studio anymore. You know, there's like, you can have amazing sounding drum parts and bass parts and guitar parts replicated on a MacBook Pro. So you don't even need to, you can knock out a song in a day if you really wanted to.
True.
You know, and it's that whole thing now where everyone's got equal access to, well, not equal access, but you know what I mean? Obviously you need talent and you need to be able to write a song in that. But yeah, it's become a lot easier for a lot of people to
enter the game and actually put their stuff out, like, you know, because in the past, how would you do it? I was like, okay, I got together with all my guys, I recorded a song, you know, but how do I get it out? Do I?
That's the thing. Anyone,
the whole, like, you know, sell mixtapes out the boot of your car kind of stuff. Now you got the whole internet there. Yeah. You know, you build a bit of hype, get yourself a good social media presence, and before you know it, people are listening. Yeah. You know, get that stuff somewhere out on TikTok or anything like that, make that go viral. Yeah. Again, how many people have taken off that way, you know? And
it also depends on what you want to get out of it too, right? Like if you're a touring musician, it's a different kettle of fish to that sort of thing. Like for me, I'm a sessions dude, so all that stuff, while it's great, doesn't really inspire people to go out and play instruments and get better and like hone your craft. And
you know, it's interesting because I actually thought about that recently. I was like, we don't have a lot of new like rock bands.
Nah. It's so a dying breed.
Because you know, there's hardly any bands. I mean, you know, like when you look at the likes of say L.A.B. and 660 and you know, like you think of anyone else, they've been around for ages. You know, you still got Red Hot Chili Peppers, but they're like, you know, 60 years old now. And, or, you know, Foo Fighters. Everybody's been around for a very long time that still plays instruments, but you don't have anyone new. You really don't. Everybody is just kind of like, you know, you got your bedroom digital producer, make a beat, you know, flip it to them, you receive it, you rap over it, bam, here we are.
And I think, that comes down to like the time thing, like you said, it takes time to record an album, write the songs, mix, master, all that kind of stuff. Publishing takes a long time, and I don't think people have the patience for it. And then also now, you have to kind of be a product. It's not about the music anymore.
Oh, it's there's like, definitely an image. There is that.
Yeah,
like,
you got to do all that.
Some sort of notoriety. I mean, I feel like it's really in anything these days. You know, like,
you have to be like super marketable and all that kind of stuff. And it's easier to maybe promote one dude that kind of looks like a rock star, and it's also cheaper too, right?
You're talking about Machine Gun Kelly.
Oh, whoever, you know.
Man, I don't know how I feel about that dude jumping across to like pop punk. Well, yeah, I suppose that's what it is now.
Yeah.
You know, and a lot of people are like, oh, well, you know, he's in rock now, deal with it. I'm like, okay, cool. Like, I don't have a problem with that personally. It's not my kind of music that he plays. But that being said, it's kind of shit that he's the only one.
Yeah.
You know, that there really isn't nobody else. I mean, he keeps beefing with all the likes of like Slipknot and everything, and you know, again, those guys have been around for ages.
They've been around for a very long time. Yeah. But I think like that's why I respect dudes like L.A.B. who, like, no bias at all, but like they're some of the most like hard-working dudes I've ever met. Like, and it's crazy seeing a whole band with that much drive, and like they're all on the same page. There's like no egos, and they've got like all right, cool, we're gonna finish this summer tour, then we're gonna do a bunch of stuff, and then they've done an album a year.
That's
like,
a pretty good effort.
They've done, like,
I mean, that's the way to do it.
Album a
that's
year.
the way to do it right now, because you know, you look at the likes of anyone that's actually gone past being a, you know, like a one-hit wonder of sorts.
Yeah.
I mean, I think the best example I can think of off the top of my head is someone like Drake.
Yeah.
You know, because that guy's been around since, you know, like after we finished school, like, you know, 2010-ish, whatever.
Yeah.
And he's just been putting stuff out, like, always. And that's why he's still around, you know, whereas everyone else, you know, they come out with the hot track, whatever it is, and then a couple of years down the line, whatever happened to them. So I think, like that's one of the keys to success these days, especially for, you know, from the point of view of longevity, because it's easier to be a one-hit wonder these days. You know, you make that one dope song, you put it out, you know, you make your money out of it.
That's it, get it sponsored, and like live off the royalties or whatever, right? Like,
yeah, and a lot of them even like say, hey, I'll take that money, I'll go do something with it, I'll invest it in something, I'll, you know, buy crypto, start a business, whatever they're doing these days. You know, but that's that. You're not in it for the music. Like, you made your living, you made your cut. You might try and release something again later, but you're not going to be too bummed if it doesn't really fly the same way.
Yeah. And these dudes are just in it for the music, So it's been nuts, just like listening to them talk about plans and that, you know, and like I love that like they're a band that is in it for the music. Like, they're like, we just want to keep playing. We just want to keep doing this.
Yeah.
And like, you know, they've worked fucking hard to get to where they are now. Because I remember seeing them like years ago after album 1, and they played to maybe like 300 or 400 people, to like now playing
17,000. Yeah. No, that's cool, man. Like, I love hearing stories like that, and you know, just about every big band that, you know, that's ever been, they always started that way. You know, you don't just come out of nowhere and become famous. It's interesting too, because, you know, I suppose I'm not as in touch with that type of music, but I have noticed that, you know, like, because you had your 660 for a little while, you know, like they've been around for a little while, and then I'm just like, oh, okay, there's L.A.B. as well, and they really blew up. I remember that, like, there was a few of their songs that just played everywhere. It was all over Instagram, TikTok. It was all over the radios. You know, it really blew up. But that to me doesn't seem like it was that long ago.
No, I'd say maybe 2 years ago.
Yeah, I mean, like, we're talking COVID. Yeah,
they've just dropped album 5, and the song that blew up was "In the Air," which is off album 3.
Yeah.
So it took a while to get traction, and then after "In the Air," then like their next biggest one, I think, is "Controller," which was off album 1.
Okay, true. I didn't know that. Yeah, because I have heard that song, and was like, okay, like, this must be relatively new. I didn't realize that.
Man, it was, I think,
because album 1, what year would that have been?
5 years ago from
5.
now,
so what? It was like 17, 16.
Yeah.
That's good effort. Yeah. It's always nice to kind of have something you've done, you know, a little while ago, and then it kind of comes back and blows up. It's like,
and I think it's like the one song that at that gig, or like at all the gigs, like everyone knows every single word to it.
Yeah.
You know, and like that's the real touchy one where like everyone's got their phones out, like all the lights are on, and then you see like and that's when you get like a really good idea of how many people are in that arena.
Yeah, because you can
like,
really see like how far those lights go.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Like Bowl of Brooklands was like the one that like really hit me because like it's a beautiful venue. I don't know if you've been. It's like the stage is kind of, there's like a lake or like a little pond thing between the audience and the band, but L.A.B had covered it up because like last year there were dudes like jumping in it. And it was like real filthy, like you wouldn't want to go swimming in it. Like think Western Springs, like you wouldn't.
Oh god.
Or like the, you know, like where all the ducks and the swans and them hang out. Yeah, so they covered that up, and then, you know, we played at sunset. So it's dark, and like, yeah, that song comes on, and that's the first time I really got to see all the lights go up, and like it goes up this hill because it's like a natural like amphitheater, so huge banks and like lights all the way up, and I was like, whoa, you know, it's one of those like, yeah, can't believe I'm here things.
Nice, man. That's cool. Well, I kind of want to, you know, I want to talk through how you got to where you are, my man. Like, because for anybody watching this, you know, my mans and I went to school together, and back in, what was it, year 8, wasn't it?
Year 8, yeah.
Yeah, so we would have been 12 years old, and
Yeah.
we were, I wouldn't even call it a band, I'd call it an act.
Yeah, it was a
Because I mean, it's not really a band, because you got like the one guy playing drums, because that's all it was really,
It was
wasn't it?
just me playing drums, and I think like Kane had a guitar. But
Yeah,
I don't
it's
think
kind
it
of
was
like, yeah, we had a little bit of a strum going on there, but really all we had was just like the drums
Just the
going on,
beat,
and we were
yeah.
like, and you know, I was rapping over that.
Yeah.
So, you know, like, and, you know, like thinking back to that, it's, you know, those are some fond memories, you know, like they're silly, but at the same time, it's
Yeah.
kind of like, oh, I'm glad I did it, you know?
So I remember like, yeah, playing, and then I did this fill, and then I dropped the stick, and
the
then
stick, yeah, I remember that. Like you had yourself a little, you know, heavy metal moment there.
Yeah, and I was like, that's the first ever time I played drums in front of people.
Yeah.
Like, not like anyone outside of like the music room we were in. That was like the first time ever I'd.
Well, see,
sat down and
I'm
kid.
glad I got to share that moment with you, and you know, look at you now.
Yeah, look at me now.
But like that's cool, man. So like in terms of that, well, you know, you obviously stuck to it and carried it on. Like at which point did you start to take it seriously enough to be able to do such things? You know, because obviously, you know, I didn't become a rapper.
Yeah,
after,
yeah.
You know, after we did that.
Oh, I think like for me, it's a lot of luck. But I think as soon as I kind of got to year 10, or no, year 11, and I think I like harassed my dad. Yeah, in year 10, I got a drum kit, like a real like $300 absolute piece of trash.
Yeah.
But like I was the happiest kid in the world, you know. And then I was like, just locked myself up in my bedroom all summer and just like went nuts, like trying to play along to like Green Day and like Blink-182. Oh, I couldn't handle Travis Barker, but Green Day was like slightly
Travis
more.
Barker.
He's
That's
just-
kind of setting the bar quite high.
Yeah, Green Day and that, like it was a easier thing to hit. And then I don't know, like my uncle was a drummer, or still is a drummer, and I was like, oh well, if he can make a living doing this sort of thing, maybe I can. Yeah, and so I just kept at it. And Mum kind of made me do piano lessons up until I finished 7th form, and that was always a drag. Like I'd have my stopwatch going on the piano, practicing scales and that, and as soon as I hit 30 minutes, done. Piano's shut, and I'm off playing drums, or I'm off like
Yeah. But
doing
did you
stuff I
find that
want to do.
piano kind of helped you?
Oh,
like I mean, it
absolutely.
kind of lay a bit of that foundational
Absolutely.
knowledge, you know, because there are things you like doing, and there are things that you should be doing as
Yeah.
well if you want to do that, you know.
Well, piano was the reason that I was able to pick up guitar and bass. Like I taught myself how to play.
Yeah, because
Both
I
of them
have
to-
noticed that you actually, you know, you rotate through
Yeah.
a few instruments. Like you're not just a drummer or anything like
No,
that.
no,
So
so
you're
I-
kind of one man band, really.
Yeah, just whatever people want, eh? So I like managed to get really good at bass like into high school. Some dude from church just gave me a bass and was like, yeah, I don't need this anymore, here you go. And I was like, sweet, locked myself up in my room all summer, and
Learn another instrument.
then I was doing cover gigs like the next year, you know, just
So like, yeah, when did you start doing shows? Like, obviously, you know, you've done a lot of practice, you've done what you did. When did you start, you know, playing? Not in those kind of talent shows that we did, but like an actual gig.
Probably into high school, I think. Like, I think my uncle had moved here and he kind of started up a covers band, and so I kind of played percussion a little bit, and then sometimes bass. Like, I think his bass player ended up like breaking his hand really badly or something, and so I had to learn like 3 hours worth of repertoire in like a week. So like hopped on a couple of shows with him, and then kind of mates from uni and that doing the covers thing, and yeah, I don't know, just got real lucky. And
do you remember your first gig? Like the very first one, we were just like, okay, this is serious now. Not like, this isn't just me mucking around at school. You know, there are people watching.
Nah, I don't think so, man.
No?
I don't think I remember my first gig. It could have been, I used to do like these, so like the Indian community would have like some, like a dance, or like they'd put on like a kind of party thing. They'd hire a band, and the band was just like a bunch of kids, or like, I think I was the oldest person there, or maybe like a couple of years older than me. Yeah, and they'd just like have us play from like 9 till midnight or 9 till 1 o'clock or something, and they'd have like a sit down dinner, and then after that music was on. So I think that might have been one of my first ones, or it could have been one with my uncle. I don't know. I wasn't like.
Okay, so it wasn't like a big deal.
No, it wasn't like one of those life changing.
Yeah, like you take a few deep breaths. It's like, okay, we've got an audience there.
Nah, I don't really get like anxiety or any of that when it comes to performing. I don't know why. Or maybe it's because I was kind of like every time someone came around to my house, and my mom would be like, all right, you get out, you playing piano for them. Like that was me. So I was kind of like used to doing it from a real young age, and I used to do all sorts of competitions in that when I was a kid. So I don't think performing ever made me nervous or anything, unless it was like a marked performance, or like for recitals at uni and that, like that's when I get nervous. Not for my own, but for other people's.
Yeah.
Just because like you don't want to let them down, and that's the only time I kind of get really, But usually, like, I'm just like hyped up and just keen to do it. So it's weird. I don't think I can remember my first gig.
Well, was there
Makes me
like
a little bit sad now?
Was there like one gig that kind of really stuck out to you as, the first gig that kind of, you felt, I suppose, more serious than the rest? Or was it just that like the first L.A.B gig where you actually felt the
the gravity of it? It's probably one of those. I think I've had a few gigs where I've just like gelled really well with the dudes on stage, and there's like some great chemistry and some cool musical shit happening. I'm sure there are like heaps of those where, and then like sometimes I have to bring myself down to earth, and even at the gigs where I don't really enjoy, kind of tell myself like, there's not everyone that there's a lot of people that don't get to do what I do, and that's like kind of the just be grateful mantra that goes through my head when I'm playing Mustang Sally to a bunch of drunk fucking
Mustang Sally.
So like, people that kind of don't give a shit.
Yeah, no, fair enough, man. And I suppose it is one of those things where you really don't have that opportunity just off the bat.
Yeah.
Because a lot of people are into music, but not everybody gets to kind of take it to that level.
Yeah. And that's the other thing too. Like I'm sure there's people way better than me, or way more, I don't know, that fit the profile a lot better. Like there's definitely better percussionists in Auckland, right? And it's just.
Do you reckon?
Oh yeah, without a doubt. Yeah. Like I know them. They're probably like, if they watch this, they're like, it should have been me. But
nah, man, don't sell yourself short. As far as I'm concerned, you're the best.
Yeah, but like, it's one of those things where like you just have to just take every opportunity and just run with it, eh? And I think that's, I'm super grateful, but also my gig, no one else, stay away.
Yeah, oh man, no, fair enough, man. You got to take your shot when it's yours, right?
Yeah.
No, that's cool, man. Well, in terms of music, right? So I mean, you mentioned, you know, your Green Day and Blink-182 and stuff. Like, what is your music? Because I know that, like, I've spoken to a few musicians over time where, you know, what the music that they like isn't necessarily the music that they play. You know, so like, to you, what's your favorite music? Like, what do you like to listen to?
That's a good question. I go through phases. Like, there'll be days where I'm digging Earth, Wind and Fire, and there's days where like I'll just completely lose my shit to Phil Collins. And like, I'm definitely like an old school dude. And then there's like some of the newer dudes coming up. Like, there's this band called like Hiatus Coyote. They're an Aussie band, and they're kind of into like the whole neo soul kind of thing. I listen to that. There's a band called Noah that I dig, and like, yeah, just taking. And then like there's the odd day where I feel like just listening to Lamb of God or like Meshuggah, and just, you know, like
Lamb of God. Holy
yeah,
shit,
man.
Yeah,
Yeah,
so
yeah.
sometimes you do. You feel a bit hardcore.
Sometimes
yeah.
I feel like I want to. Like, usually, like, I'll be at work and I'm just having a really bad day and just going, you know what, and just chucking some Meshuggah, crank the volume up, and then I just feel
just
like
rage, yeah.
just like have a big smile on my face. You know, like, fuck, I
like
wonder
I'm doing work, but then in my head there's violence going on.
My head's just double kicks and screaming, eh?
Have you ever tried playing that kind of music? I'm gonna take it back there again, because I always thought to myself, like, man, you look like a dude that could pull this off.
Nah,
you've got the look for it.
I do have the look, which is real weird, eh? Like, because I rock up with like tattoos and stuff, and I've got like Tom Jones blasting in my car. And like, I've had people at work go, like, tap my window, and I roll my window down, and they're like, That's Tom Jones. And I was like, yeah, I know it's Tom Jones. He's amazing, yeah. And then they're like, but the tattoos and the thing. I'm like, I like Tom Jones. I like what I like, you know?
Yeah, no, that's fair enough. I totally get that, because I mean, I'm the same. I go through a lot of different genres and phases, and you know, like I grew up on hip hop.
Yeah.
Personally, I don't really listen as much anymore because I just don't like what it's become. Yeah. I kind of actually recently I really got into that really heavy music.
Yeah.
You know, it's I think the older I got, the more I kind of appreciated the emotion that goes into it.
Yeah.
You know, it's a very specific kind of thing. You don't really have, happy metal.
No. You just, I think you have to be, for me, I have to be in a particular mood to listen to it. And I don't, back in year 10, I thought that that's what I wanted to do, and that's what I enjoyed doing. And it's sweet. I used to listen to like Mudvayne and Slipknot and like all that kind of stuff. And like my dad bought me a double pedal, and I broke it in like 3 days. So like that kind of went that idea. And then I don't know, man. I didn't have the patience to just sit there and practice that stuff, because it's a lot of practice doing the double kicks and getting real fast.
Well, it looks very intense.
Yeah, it's like an extreme sport, bro.
Yeah, like you watch these guys, they're schwitzing.
Yeah.
You know, the guy is having a workout.
Yeah, he's having a borderline seizure, while playing. And like I admire dudes that can do that. And it's like, I went to a gig. I played a gig last week, and one of the other bands that played, dude had like his blast beat like on lock, and I was just sitting there going, holy shit, I wish I could do that, you know?
Yeah.
And it's just like, fuck. And then, I don't know, like for me, I'd love to be able to play that stuff, but I've never been in a position where I've needed to.
Yeah.
And it's purely because, I don't know, man, rock bands and metal bands just aren't a thing, or I'm not getting called up to play that stuff.
Well, I suppose, it's, it also depends on like the circles that you move in as well.
Yeah.
Because it is quite a specific subculture in terms of, you won't really see it kind of intersect with a lot of others. You're not really going to see those guys trying to play L.A.B, for example, because this is like a lot more mellow, a lot more soulful. Whereas, with these guys, it's all about just that hard, guts out kind of energy.
Yeah, but it's interesting that you say that, because all the L.A.B dudes are like, or like a couple of them are like real into that stuff.
True.
Yeah, like I think Brad's got like every Iron Maiden fill down note for note, like every part of like every Iron Maiden song. That guy's like a musical encyclopedia. Like he's, yeah, one of those dudes. But like, yeah, it's not to say that you can't enjoy it. It's just if you don't get a call to, like for me, especially with the day job, I don't get a lot of time to practice, like at all. And like the last thing I want to do after working, 8:30 to 5:30 is sit down at a drum kit and like hash some stuff out. Like, so most of my practicing I do away from the kit. It's just listening to songs and learning repertoire and all that kind of stuff. And then if I need to learn patterns and my body won't do it, then I'll have to sit down at a kit and like nut it out.
Okay, so a lot of it is quite kind of internalized and mental, so to speak, as opposed to practical.
Yeah, it's like it's a bit crap because like obviously if you don't use it, you lose it.
Yeah.
And I remember sitting down at a kit. It was at a rehearsal like last week, and this was after 3 or 4 months because of the lockdown, and then all these L.A.B gigs of not actually playing drums. And so I had a rehearsal, and I thankfully got there an hour early just to remember how to play drums again, because it was real buzzy sitting down and like hitting drums again. It was real it was good, felt good.
Yeah.
Kind of like like that mate you haven't seen in a while, and I was like, oh yeah, cool, this is what it's like. But then also rusty as shit, and you're like, my body doesn't want to do what I tell it to. So yeah, got there an hour early and brushed off the cobwebs there. But yeah, most of my practice is done away from the kit. Like every now and then there'll be like a tricky thing where like I'll come up with an idea in my head for what would suit the song or whatever, and then I'd have to physically play it a bunch of times and get the muscle memory going. And yeah, but most of the time I'll be listening to shit at work, and then like sometimes writing down a cheat sheet.
Yeah. Oh, that's cool. At least you kind of get to use the work time for something useful.
Yeah. Other than making money.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I'm at a stage now where obviously to a certain extent my body can do what I want it to do, at least to get by. Yeah. And then if I need to really sit down and shed some stuff, then I'll do that.
So it's quite a bit of muscle memory of sorts.
I guess muscle memory, and then just trusting that, or knowing what you're capable of, and if you're not capable of doing whatever you hear just yet, simplifying it so you're not like making a dick of yourself on stage or whatever,
Yeah, so I mean you're kind of not putting yourself out of your depth, so to speak. Yeah, no, that makes sense. How often do you play otherwise? I mean, like all lockdowns and all this other crap aside, like on the like during normal peaceful times, how often would you play?
I think like leading up to the lockdown we had previously, I was pretty busy. Yeah, I was doing maybe 2 or 3 to 4 gigs a week on top of a day job.
Shit, that's pretty decent, man.
So it was like Wednesday, like the odd Wednesday night, the odd Thursday night, Friday night, Saturday night was almost a given, and then sometimes the odd like Sunday afternoon gig at a cafe or something.
Yeah.
So it was, I think the week we went into lockdown, I was playing Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and I had a Sunday night gig, and I just canned it because I was just so exhausted.
Oh man, I can imagine that's a pretty hard roster, especially with a full-time job.
Yeah. It does get super tiring, so you just have to, I don't know. Sleep is something that I don't get a lot of.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, you just kind of have to do it for the passion, and then hopefully you land a sweet gig, like, I don't know, get into a band that gets to play stadiums, and then you almost don't have to work a day job anymore.
Yeah.
Maybe, I don't know. Like, right now, I don't think I'd quit my day job purely because you never know.
Yeah, I mean, in times like this, obviously, it's very uncertain. But like taking into consideration, like you're saying, you had heaps of gigs. Would that alone isn't something that could sustain you?
It could, if it wouldn't be comfortable. I'd get by, but it wouldn't be comfortable. Working this day job thing lets me have tattoos and lets me, buy a bunch of like nice gear. Like I get to buy nice, instruments and new drums, new cymbals and new bass guitars and all that kind of stuff. And I'm not really like in debt. Come close, but never like in debt. So yeah, it probably could sustain me, but it wouldn't be a comfortable life.
Yeah, no, fair enough. And I suppose you have certain priorities, and it's not just like at the end of the day, it is reasonable as well. It's not like you just want money for the sake of money. Like you're doing stuff with this stuff. This contributes to what you do. Like starting with the image, your tattoos and everything, to actually having the equipment, and that's like that's a very important part of everything.
Yeah, the tattoos are almost an ROI, eh? Like
ROI.
It's really good because you kind of get noticed for being, hey, yeah, you're that drummer with the tattoos now.
Yeah.
And then it's like, cool, you'd look all right on stage, Yeah. It's a real interesting buzz, like.
Well, no, definitely the image matters. I mean, it is show business at the end of the day. Whether
100% is.
However you look at it, you still have to look the part. You have to have a personality, and I think especially for for someone in your role, it's not like you're always out there talking shit.
No.
You let your craft do the talking. But that being said, you also kind of need to accompany that with a certain image to actually stand out.
Yeah, I think you're remembered a little bit more. Yeah. Or like brought up in conversation a little bit more, Like, oh, you seen that dude's got a fucking tattoo on his head, and they're like, oh yeah. Oh, but also, you were looking for a drummer, right? Yeah, hit him up. He's plays drums,
you just you pop up in somebody's mind.
Yeah. It's been weird, but it's been good. Yeah,
tell us how that like affects your day job, because that's one thing that always that always kind of stuck out to me. There's your passion, you go hard with it. You obviously you want to look the part.
Yeah.
And I mean I love my tattoos just as much. You can see, I've got a lot of them, but then there's the so-called real world that doesn't seem to want to accept it. Like, I mean, we're a bit more lenient now than we used to be, I suppose, but not to that extent. There is still a little bit of, well, not even a little bit, there's quite a bit of prejudice, even if it's not overt. You can still see how people react to these things. And, from your perspective, like, I don't know if people know immediately that you're a musician, because if we're talking about somebody you just met. Yeah, like, how does that affect your everyday life?
It's interesting, because prior to getting the tattoos, I was always that Indian guy, and not that it was ever a bad thing, but like a lot of the times, I don't know, like I feel like there could have maybe been instances where, as a musician, I don't know. I could just be getting in my own head here. That as a musician, I might not have had the same opportunities as someone else because I didn't look the part. Because I've definitely there were times where I'd show up to a gig and I'd have all my gear with me, and this was one gig in particular that sticks out really well. So I just finished another show, and I was on my way to the city, play another gig, and then so check out the door, and I rock up, and she's like, "Oh no, we're sold out." And I was like, "Yeah, I know, but I'm playing in the last band." It was like a 3-band lineup or something. And she was like, "Oh, but you don't look like a musician." And I was like,
what the fuck does a musician look like?
Pre-tattoos and stuff, right? So I was like, I don't understand. Like, I've got my gear.
Yeah.
Here's like some cymbals. I've got some drumsticks in this bag. Of carrying a snare drum here. Like, what's the story? So I had to like kind of argue with her a little bit and
what did she say after that? That sounds really interesting that you've actually had to have that conversation with someone.
Multiple times, yeah. But like this one kind of really stuck out because I was just like, I've never had it put so bluntly. You don't look like a musician. And then I was like, I don't know what a musician's supposed to look like.
Yeah, well, what does one look like in your mind?
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
What kind of music do you listen to?
And it was like a reggae gig too, like a ska kind of whatever. It doesn't matter what like, and that's the thing. Like no one in the band had dreads, so like no one in the band was like a skinhead. So like I don't understand what. And the only thing that separates me from everyone else in that room is my race. So is that, like, do I look more like an Uber driver to you or like a dairy? I don't understand like where like your mind's at. But eventually like after like a lot of bickering, I just show her photos like, I'm in this band, like.
Holy shit. So like you actually had to go to that extent.
Yeah, because I think she knew the old drummer, so maybe that was it too. I think she thought I was maybe taking the piss, but he left. So I'd kind of like, look, I'm in the band now. And like, yeah, she let me in later. But yeah, it was just one of those like really weird experiences, eh? And it's almost like I haven't got my body tattooed to hide the fact that I'm Indian, because like that's
that's you don't want to disrespect yourself that way and just hide your identity. But I see what you mean, man. It's like weird is a very mild way to kind of put it, for that kind of experience, you know. But yeah, you still come across that for a lot of many different things. You don't fit a certain mold of what people expect you to look like, be it your race, be it your appearance, like just your general demeanor, like if you're playing drums, what are you supposed to look like?
What does a drummer look like?
What does a drummer look like? And, what kind of bands are we talking about? Are you imagining, a rock drummer, kind of a reggae drummer, or, just soul, jazz, whatever,
Yeah, it was a real interesting buzz, eh? And then on the flip side of the coin, like at my day job, walking in with a head tattoo, like I've kind of had to let my work speak for itself first before kind of giving them an excuse to let me go. But like they're all stoked with how I work, and I love my manager to bits because he's like a really good dude. Super like hands off, which I love.
Yeah.
Like I love not being micromanaged and all that kind of stuff, and he doesn't care. He's like, you can tell he's genuinely one of those dudes that doesn't see color, whether it's like your skin or ink, and he was just like, if this is what you want to do, that's sweet. He gave me the usual like the just make sure you don't do anything you will regret and think about your future, and like, but he's like, I'm not going to tell you what to do, just kind of you do you, man. And
that's good, man. We need more people like that in the professional world. I feel like, especially now we're really going through almost like a cultural revolution of sorts when you look at it, because a lot has changed. A lot of the norms have changed, and we do embrace people's individuality a bit more as a society. But there are still heaps of people complaining about shit, just like, everything's too PC, everything is this and that. It was just like, well, why? Because you're losing the right to talk shit about somebody else's choices that aren't necessarily
and they don't
aligning with yours.
And just because someone has a difference of opinion doesn't mean they're hurting someone. I mean, if they are hurting someone, then
that's
obviously
that's a different thing.
But I mean, like, how is me having a tattoo on my head?
What does it change about what you do?
It doesn't change who I am as a person. It doesn't, like, obviously if I was tattooing like a big like swastika or like a middle finger or something, maybe you can get shitty about the content, not
the fact that you
not
have
the fact that
tattoos.
I have a tattoo.
I think there is still a lot of misconceptions around that. I get that all the time.
Yeah.
You know, like I get labeled all sorts of things.
Yeah.
You know, especially around, you know, like the professional kind of corporate world, anything like that. You get some crooked stares quite often. And yeah, like I always just thought to myself, it's just, well, look, I showed up in a suit yesterday and I did my thing, and you were happy with that, right? Today you can see some tattoos. Tomorrow, if I come in with my head tattooed, nothing changes.
Nah,
I'm still the same person, still doing the same shit. Like, this is just my outfit.
Yep.
Don't worry about my outfit. Like, yes, I have like a rich kind of internal life. I'm artistic. I like to express these things. I like body art. I support everybody's choice in kind of manifesting their personality the way they want to, be it through body art or be it through the way they dress or whatever. Like, this is you.
Yep.
You know, you want to show yourself in a particular light to people, you know, but that's not to say that like, oh, well, you showed me, you know, that you look, I don't know. A lot of people seem to find tattoos intimidating, right? You know, and it's kind of like, well, first of all, what intimidates you around that? What experience have you had? And why are you buying into that narrative too? Like, how many tattooed people have you come across that's actually done something to you?
That have, like,
or have you just read the paper? Have you just read the paper and saw a guy with, you know, tats all over his face being sentenced for, you know, whatever it is? You know what I mean? Like, I do find that quite frustrating.
Yeah, I haven't really experienced that much, which is really good. Like, I've had a lot of like questions about especially the head. Like, oh, why would you get your head tattooed? Had a spare bit of coin, and I'm a sucker for punishment. So, like, you know,
I was just like, I thought it would look cool. I mean, I think that's the thing with tattoos as well. You have a lot of dumbass conversations about them, eh?
Yeah.
It's just, oh, well, like, do your tattoos mean anything, or did you just
I
get them,
one.
or you know, like, oh, well, what does that mean? And it's funny too because they try to judge you based on that, and then if you start talking to them about it, you know, they come back with some really dumb shit. Like, I've had a guy that kind of, you know, put a lot of my tattoos into question, and like, oh, well, you know, I'm not sure if I would get it on me because, you know, it's on me forever.
Yeah, and that's you.
But I do want a tattoo, right? You know, I was thinking of getting the word honor tattooed on me, you know, because everything I do it with honor. I'm like, so. And I'm the fucking stupid one. So I have something that means something to me that may not, like, I don't need to explain this to anybody, right?
No, it's your body, it's your ink, it's your art.
Yeah, but you want to get something obvious, and it's like, ooh, the word honor, you must be an honorable guy. It's just like, that doesn't mean shit. Like, that's what cracks me up the most about the way people think and perceive tattoos.
That stuff, Yeah, I've definitely had people like, oh, I had this one dude at a tattoo shop, which was hilarious because he was getting a tattoo as well. And he was just like, oh, what are you getting? And I think I was getting like my Rick and Morty leg thing done.
Yeah.
And
so you like Rick and Morty,
yeah,
man.
Bro, I'm in, bro. I'm in. And I was like, yeah, just getting this. And he's like, oh, but like, what does it mean to you? And I was like, it means I really like the cartoon. I don't know. Like, what do you want from me? And then he was like, yeah, well, you know, I'm getting a wolf and a raven to like cover up a like scar or something that he just had like surgery done.
Because I'm a wolf and a raven.
Yeah, I don't know. And then like ended up like micromanaging the artist who like wasn't keen. You know, like he was one of those.
It's funny too, yeah, because like I know that, you know, artists, or, you know, we are in a tattoo studio right now, but I know that artists hate those kind of guys, man. Like the ones that come in with like the, you know, the angels and lions and everything, and you know, well, because, you know, lion's the king of the jungle, and, you know, I'm the king of the jungle too. I'm a hardcore guy. I'm like, okay, cool, yeah. You know, that means a lot.
And he was like, just this whole vibe, because like this other dude was there getting like a Naruto sleeve done, and it looked like hella cool, right? It was just like this gangster ass tattoo, like this whole sleeve, and he was getting like a bit done, and he was like, that's just a cartoon. And I was like, yeah. And then he was like, well, why, like, what happens in like 20 years when you get married and have kids and all that kind of shit? And I was like, well,
you're gonna be married with kids and have tattoos.
Yeah, I mean, you can be into whatever you want. And I was like, fuck, like, even if I'm not into Rick and Morty in like 10, 15 years, I've got like a cool piece of art on me.
And it's not always about that. It's kind of like, even if you're not into Rick and Morty in 20 years time, the fact that you were at one point, like, because a lot of these tattoos, you know, they're you know, like, they're a time in my life. It's not something that's necessarily going to be like, oh, you know, I still feel this way.
Yep.
It's going to be like, but at that time I felt strongly enough about it to get this inked on me.
Yeah.
And that's what matters, you know, like
Yeah.
to me, that's, you know, like that's my own history.
Yep.
Yeah.
And for me, like, yeah, none of my, like, there's some tattoos that mean stuff to me, but most of them are like, I really like Lord of the Rings, chuck a golem on my leg. You know, like, that's, like, I've got a fucking Borat tattoo on the back of my leg. Like,
Do you?
yeah,
Sure.
just right there, just like a little Borat anime.
Very nice.
But, like,
is that a Power Ranger too?
yeah, bro.
My
Yeah.
man.
Yeah. But, like, just shit, you know, like, it doesn't really matter. It's just a cool...
It's just stuff you like.
Yeah,
I mean,
shit I'm
because
into.
that's what matters at the end of the day. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know why people get overly meaningful about these things. And I also feel like, you know, they do it quite often with cultural tattoos as well. It's kind of like, I can dig that, you know, like if you really feel strongly about your culture, but I also feel like there's a lot of people that kind of want a tattoo, don't know what to get. And I was like, oh, well, we'll go down the cultural line, even though there's nothing cultural about you. You don't know your own culture. Like I've come across a lot of people like that.
Yeah, well, I have a tamoko on me. That was one of the ones that actually means something.
Yeah,
you know,
yeah.
like it's one of those like.
Well, because you know, like they're pretty intricate designs. Like
Yeah.
every little bit means something.
Yeah, but then you have to like do it right too, eh? Like I made sure I went and talked to an artist. I actually talked to a bunch of like my Māori friends too, and just like, hey, is it cultural appropriation? Like, do you? Obviously, I'm sure there'll be people out there that think it is. I was just given like overwhelming support, and they're like, nah, do it. And then I talked to me, an artist, and like kind of told him what it represents and that. And it was like an amazing experience. You know,
it's funny
But-
you mentioned cultural appropriation too.
Yeah.
I feel like people that are really genuinely about the culture never claim that. They
Yeah.
never say, oh, you know, somebody's appropriating my culture. They
Yeah.
don't get defensive about it because they're proud of it and they want to share it.
Yeah, they were stoked that like that. And what I really love is all of them asked me why. They're like, "Why are you getting it done?" Just to like, you know, weed out the BS, because I'm sure there's people that go, "Oh man, that looks so cool."
Yeah, you know,
I wanna
the
get
guy
that
the
tattoo
guy
on me.
looks cool. I want to look like a warrior. Or
Yeah,
whatever,
yeah,
You know? But
yeah.
like, yeah.
It's just one of those like real meaningful, one of the few meaningful tattoos that I have. But yeah, the rest of me is just walking pop culture. You know?
Yeah, I was say Dumbledore
Yeah,
over
bro,
here
it's
as
a
well.
whole
Yeah.
like Harry Potter sleeve, man. Like that's
No, that's dope, man.
that's
It's,
me, bro.
Like it's, you know, like I feel like pop culture shouldn't really be overlooked in that sense when it comes
No.
to these things, because it's like, look, well, this is your life. This is, you know, this is what truly inspired you. To an extent, it could be something that actually inspired you more so than even, you know, certain aspects of culture can, because you know you're born into
Yeah.
these things,
Yeah.
but these things are uniquely yours. You
Yeah.
chose them. You know,
That's it.
nobody else did it for you. You chose to take these things on and embrace them and be inspired by them. And I think, like, you know, what else is more important than that?
Mm-hmm.
You know, like,
Agree.
yeah. So I think in that sense, I think I really hope that you know, that some people get their head out their ass when it comes to tattoos, man.
Yeah, I don't know. I might have maybe shot myself in the foot for future jobs, but who knows? Like, I'd rather not work for a company that kind of judges people like that.
Well, because when you
Yeah.
think about it, it'll never be a very good environment.
Nah, not at all. Like, I prefer to just let my work do the talking, and if they're not stoked, or if they don't want me because of the way I look, then cool.
Yeah, and I mean, you
On
know,
to the
like,
next one.
obviously there's different jobs. I mean, there might be some certain jobs that require you to look a certain way, like, you know, I don't know, a news anchor or something. You're
Yeah,
expected
yeah.
to look a certain way, and it's like, that's cool. That's what you're committed to. You have the look that goes with it. You know, maybe you want to get a mohawk, but you can't because you work that specific job, you know, because
Yeah.
that's what's expected of you. And if you don't want to, I mean, you can find another job, right?
Yep.
Like,
yeah. Oh well, and the other thing is like, how does a hairstyle affect your ability to do your job? Like, I wouldn't have an issue with a news anchor with a mohawk.
Well,
you know what I mean? But like,
we wouldn't, but there will be a
but-
whole lot of other people
Yeah.
that would be in that. You know,
Yeah.
I really hope that this kind of stops. This, like, you know, this expectation is, oh, well, this is tradition, this is what's right. Because none of these people that tell you that this is right are actually able to explain to you why it's
No,
right.
no,
If
no.
you really kind of hit him with a lot of whys, we're gonna
Yeah.
just be like, well, it's because I said so. You know,
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
It's back to
That's
primary
how
school.
it's always been done.
Yeah.
And it's like, well,
Yeah, just like things tend to change, you know, like
Yeah.
over time, you know, and at the end of the day, tattoos aren't nothing new either. You know, tattoos have been around for thousands of years.
oh yeah, yeah, yeah. And they were mentioned in the Bible too. Like that's how how old school it is. But well, obviously in the Bible it says you're not allowed to get any, which a lot of my Catholic peeps like to
Take
to let
an
me
issue
know.
with, yeah.
Yeah. I've got an auntie who's a nun who hasn't seen me with tattoos yet.
Yeah.
So that's going to be a fun family reunion.
Yeah.
I don't think she knows. I don't think my dad's told her. I don't think any of my uncles have told her because I don't know how she'd react. She'd definitely cry, but like I don't know how far.
Oh, well, you know, you have a cry.
It's a bit
You'll
late
get
now.
over it. You'll be all right.
Yeah, well that's the thing, right? I'm still me. I'm still the same dude. I just look more colorful now.
I noticed you haven't got any on your hands.
Coming, yeah, they're on
Oh,
the
they're
way, bro.
coming? Yeah. Because
Yeah.
I'm looking at it, I was just like, I
Yeah,
feel like
they're pretty empty,
Yeah,
yeah.
they're like, you got the neck, you got the head, but like, I feel like that needs to keep going.
I think now is probably like the best time to do my hands, like, or any kind of time where I'm not playing, because obviously like if you get your hands butchered, you're not going to be able to hold a stick for a day or two, or beat a conga or play any sort of instrument. So you kind of have to time your healing to your gigs.
Yeah.
So yeah, I guess now with not much happening, I probably should hit him up. I don't know. God, it's in the works. It'll happen.
No, it's good,
It'll
man.
happen.
Yeah.
I've got I'm kind of seeing my dude every 2 months or every 3 months, kind of. And then I'll be covered, bro. I'll have the whole bodysuit thing. Eventually. Sorry,
Yeah.
Mum. Sorry, Dad.
See that's the same with me, man. I've got so many tattoos that my man's let me use a studio for this.
Yeah. You get that
But it's
relationship
cool
with
when
them,
you do develop that relationship.
Yeah.
I feel like your tattoo artist gets to see certain aspects of you that a lot of people don't, because in the design process, you kind of let a little bit of like that deep inner psyche out that you may not necessarily kind of manifest in any other way, but you kind of have to do it with them for them to design what you actually want.
Actually, for me, I don't even get that involved now. Like I know his work and I trust him enough. Jason Baker Tattoos, just
Do the plug, man.
doing the plug. But I just go, hey, I want Gandalf versus Balrog, chuck it on my back, and that's it.
Nice.
That's all I tell him, and then I walk into my appointment, see the design, jaw hits the floor, I'm like, fuck, that's gonna be on me? Shit. So I think we're at a pretty good kind of like level of just huge level of trust, where you just know he's gonna do something kick ass. And
has he done everything that you've got, or
no, he's done most of it, like 3/4 of this arm, all of this arm, legs, just the golem on this leg, chest, head, back, neck.
Okay,
Pretty much most of
most
it.
of it, yeah. Oh, that's cool, man. Awesome. We'll see. Yeah, I can't wait to see the hand test too.
Yeah, bro.
See, like I'm usually, it's hard for people to compete with me in tats. I know like you can't really see an awful lot, but like everything that's covered actually is fully tattooed.
Yeah.
But the only things I don't have is for most part my hands, neck, and my face. But yeah, man, like you've given me a bit of inspiration.
Yeah, bro, do it.
Yeah.
Do it. I think you can always find work. And like the thing that really got me into tats, and I haven't like really told too many people, but like I had a really good mate in India who like committed suicide like the summer, or I think the year I started getting tattoos, I think. And that's when it hit me, because I kind of always, like back in my mind, always wanted to get tattooed. And I was like, man, life's too short, so I just booked it, got it done.
Yeah, those experiences definitely do that to you. Kind of realize that you need to embrace what you want.
Yeah, man, you're on this rock for
a
very, very short time.
Yeah.
And that's the thing I keep telling my dad, because he's like, man, how much money do you spend on your ink and stuff? And I was like, man, I could I could literally catch COVID tomorrow and that's it, or I could get hit by a bus, or I'd,
exactly, yeah. Like, let's keep that simple. Like, yeah, a lot of things can happen out there.
And then
yeah.
it's like, what is all my savings worth then? And obviously, like, you know, buying a house in Auckland isn't cheap, and I've probably got half a house deposit on my body right now. But I don't know, like, everything seems to have worked out for me so far. Like, I'm not in debt. I'm not like, you know, I don't have, like, I've always got cash for a rainy day and all that kind of stuff. But like, yeah, I don't know. I think things will work out.
Yeah.
Just kind of.
And I mean, at the end of the day, it's, you know, it's about like the head you got on your shoulders rather than, you know, tattoos or not. Again, you know, it's the kind of person you are. You'll navigate these situations. You'll make sure you're still organized. You know, just because you're getting tattoos, you're not like some dumbass that's like, oh, I just don't care about anything in life. And, you know, you'll end up getting yourself into some, you know, situations where you can't handle life, you know?
Yeah, yeah. I think I'm pretty set at the moment with like gigs and my current job. So it affords me luxuries like getting tattooed and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, anything could change, right?
What's like, I mean, obviously this isn't, you know, a hard time to kind of be looking into the future too much.
Yeah.
But what do you see for yourself, man? I mean, like, this is a pretty big achievement that you've just had. You know, like, is there anything you would like to do moving forward from this?
Just this again, bro. Like, it's been such a good run. Like, it's been 4 shows, but it's been, like, there haven't been any, like, downs. Because, like, I'm super well looked after by the crew and that. I don't know, man. Like, I'm happy now. As long as I'm in a position to keep doing what I like to do, which is gigs, getting tattooed and all that kind of stuff. I'm happy, bro. Like, it doesn't take much to make me
I mean,
happy.
it sounds a pretty good life, man.
Yeah.
To be honest, I mean, you know, what else do you want?
Well, that's the thing.
Passions,
A lot of people don't get to live the life I want, and like, you know, you meet these like dudes that you know would have killed it on the scene, and they've just resorted to
just never pursued it,
working day jobs and that, and you're like, oh, bro, like. You know, and I'm glad that I'm not in a position where I've had to fully give up music, and I don't feel like I have. Maybe it's taken me a little bit longer, and like it's been a harder hustle with the day job, and I don't like thinking what if I just decided to just grind music 24/7, because I don't know. I think the experiences that I've had, I probably wouldn't give up for anything. Yeah, so it's been good. I don't know, like more of these shows would be amazing, but yeah, I don't know. It's a tricky environment.
Well, you know, play it by ear.
Yeah, that's it, man. Like, just hope the phone keeps ringing and like, yeah,
chugging along.
That's the one, bro. And then just get a bunch of tattoos along the way, and that's it.
Cool,
yeah,
man.
Can't really complain.
Future looks bright for you, my man. Honestly, I wish you all the best, man.
Thanks,
like, You've been a real big inspiration for me, you know, considering that, you know, we have a history dating back to, you know, 12 years old.
Yeah.
And, you know, to see how far you've come, to see the man you are now, to see you following your dreams, you know, I think that's a huge achievement, and I respect that a lot, man. I appreciate you coming to my show.
Thanks, man. Thanks for having me, bro. Like, it's been cool. It's been, like, because I don't think we've even hung out much, or even if at all.
Yeah, no, I haven't seen very much of you since that time. Yeah.
But it's been cool, man. It's been cool to reconnect and like talk about tattoos and music and that. Yeah, it's been great, bro.
Awesome, man.
Good yarns.
Yeah, well, holla at your peoples, man.
Shout out to all my crew. Yeah. Oh, also, go support your friends who are musicians, please. Or like support all the musicians that you like. Go buy their merch. Stream their music, share their posts. Like, it all doesn't seem like much, but it really goes a long way. So yeah, that's kind of all I have to say.
You heard it here first. Go out, support your local artists.
Peace.